There it is. Let's see. Just doing our check, making sure that we're live or not live. Let us know if the audio sounds good. You want to say something? Make sure the audio.
Hello. Welcome.
Let's see.
We're here again.
Here we go. Yeah, look, we're on YouTube.
Great.
Cool. Let me just see if it actually is going. Let's see if it's moving. Quality looks pretty bad though. Let's see. Is everything right on our end? I believe so. We'll just give it another minute.
A couple.
Yeah. Let us know if it's delayed or anything, because on my phone it doesn't look great. Let me see here. Always something with lives, huh?
I think it's on.
Yeah. Let me just see if there's any technical issues or not. Yeah, so yeah, Brian said the video is not good. Yeah, we're frozen. Oh man. Always something, huh? All right, let me try to disconnect the audio or the video and see if that works. I don't know if this is a good idea. Sorry about this. It's always something with video, huh? All right, let's see if that looks any better. All right, let's see what we got here in the chat. Does that look any better? Let's see here. I think Brian said, yep, looks good. Let's see. This is the first time this has happened before. All right, look, it actually looks like it's good. All right, cool. Sweet.
Awesome.
Let's roll with this. Make sure we're good. Yeah, that's a first for us, but I think it's because I accidentally disconnected it and then the video. Yeah, cool. All right, cool. Nice seeing you, Brian. Yeah.
Yeah, nice seeing you.
All right, cool.
We're super excited about this live stream. It's something new that we plan on doing periodically on the channel, and that's book reviews. So one of the goals for 2025, especially for Mark, not so much for me because I'm more of a reader, I enjoy reading, is to read more books.
Mm-hmm. So I'll go on record and say that this book is a big milestone for me because I literally haven't read a book in, I hate to say it, like 10, 15 years, like from front to back. Like it's been a long time. So you want to give a little backstory? You want to hold up the book? So this is
the book that we are going to review today. It's called The World Walk, and if you are here, you probably know what we're talking about because it's in the title. Yep. And if you sign up for our newsletter, you know that we are talking about this book as well. This is a book by somebody that's actually from our local area. He lives, I don't know if he still lives, but he lived pretty close to where we live. And he walked around the world for 7 years. So it's his story about walking around the world. So this isn't really a business book, I would say. It's just an inspiring story. But after we both read this book, we took away so much, and we feel like that can be applied to our business. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
And in the description below, there's a link to purchase the book. So if you like what we're talking about, you can buy it directly from Amazon.
Yeah.
And then in there as well is a link to our newsletter. So we're being a lot more active on our newsletter. If you're new to our channel, we do website designs and branding here in the Philadelphia area. So just in case you're brand new to this channel, that's who we are. And what we're going to do. Yes, I'm Mark. Yeah. And we're going to incorporate books throughout the year and how we, take lessons from it, personal and business, and how we apply it to our personal business life. So
I will say that this is one of my favorite books that I read last year. I think this story is so inspiring. And this is a person that we were following as he was completing this walk around the world. So it was really cool to
see it as like in real time.
Yeah, almost. See it in real time, but then read the book. And it's so beautifully written. He's a great storyteller. So I highly recommend it if you're just looking for a great read.
And what's cool about this story is it was actually your cousin, right? That went to school with him?
My cousin was the one that told me about Tom. And she's like, yeah, there's a guy I went to high school with. He's walking around the world. It's really cool. And so we just started following him because of that. And then we just really got invested in this story.
I remember when she said that, I was like, no, he's not. Like, I remember like nobody does that. And then I was like, holy crap, this guy actually like did it. Yeah, he actually like started the process. It took him a long time to like map it out and actually get the route that he wanted to go, because he literally started in the Philadelphia area. Was going to do all the way around. Was it 7 continents?
Mm-hmm.
And then was it say 6 on the book? So he did 6 continents, and then came back into the Philly area.
Yeah, he got a little stuck due to some health issues, and then COVID kind of made it really difficult. But even with all of that, he managed to do it.
And what's cool is we actually were there at he finished here in New Jersey. What was the name of the restaurant? I forget.
Forget.
It's not far from our house, so on the Jersey side.
He is from like a few towns over.
Yeah, so we were actually there at the homecoming when he literally walked through, and we were able to meet him, and hundreds of people showed up. So that was a really cool event. It's at the end of the book.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we just have 5 things that we wanted to talk about, and how we, like I said, are using a lot of lessons from this book in our personal life, and just stories, pretty cool stories that kind of stick with you, and how we were able to implement that. So you want to cover the first one is you don't need that much stuff.
Yeah. So obviously, if you're planning on walking around the world, you're going to take only what you need. And one of the things early on in the book was figuring out, what is it that I need to do this? So he had this custom cart built. It looked kind of like a stroller, and that's where he had all of his stuff. So basically his entire life was in this cart. And what was really interesting to me was he had packed some stuff, like some books, to learn Spanish, because he was going to be in Spanish-speaking countries at the beginning. And he packed some things, and then he started to realize, I can't carry all this stuff around. So he actually got rid of even more stuff. So he didn't have a lot to begin with, and he got rid of it. And I think that a way that you can apply that to business, or even just your personal life, is to kind of focus on the things that are essential, and not all the stuff that people are telling you need. Because I know that we're constantly marketed, oh, you need this CRM and this tool and this software in order to do your job. You really don't need that much.
The saying, less is more. And I think that's how it is. Yeah. You know what? I see an opportunity here. This might be a bad idea. Let me see. Let's put the book right here. Can you see it?
Yeah.
This is a homemade shelf, so it might fall. Let's see. There you go.
It'll be fine. Yeah, we'll just put it back there. So
if it falls, I didn't put it together. TaskRabbit did now. We put that wall up, yeah.
It's been going strong for a few years. I think we're fine.
Yeah, so that was like what I loved is a lot of people ask, like, how did you do it? Like, he has one cart, because even when we got this from friends too, even when we traveled on the road full time as like digital nomads, we literally had friends, and just so you know, we were going to do a full year on the road here in the United States. We started in 2019. We lasted almost 7-8 months. And we all know what happened in 2020. So we had to stop our travel plans. But guess what we did? We did all of this in a 2010 Toyota Corolla. So we were able to travel the country full time. We literally didn't have a house. We ran our business. All we had was the stuff we had in our Corolla. So we can kind of relate to what he went through, but he did it much smaller, of course.
More extreme.
But yeah, it was funny because I remember we had friends who were like, well, they were so confused. Like, you had your pots and pans with you. Like, how did you cook? We're like, no, you don't have room for pots and pans. Like, you figure it out. Like, in a lot of cases, we would
places.
Yeah.
Stuff that you're staying.
Yeah, we were staying at like hotels and Airbnb. So some of them had pots and pans, some didn't. So of course, him traveling around the world, you're not going to have pots and pans. But I just thought that was funny how sometimes people think you need all this extra crap, but you can learn to live without all this extra stuff.
Yeah, I see so many people that are like, they have like a closet full of clothes and they're like, I have nothing to wear. It's like, you have plenty of stuff to wear.
Yep.
So you can even apply it to your personal life. And I know that people are more conscious nowadays of like overconsumption. That's kind of like a trend, that we're trying to evaluate all the stuff that we have. But it's still a big problem, I think. I think people we're constantly being marketed to as we need this and we need that. And there's a lot that we really don't need. And reading this story really put into perspective,
well, even with
all
us,
the stuff that we think we need but that we don't.
even with us in clothes, our mindset is we only buy things when we need it. So if we have a sweater that has a hole in it, well, guess what? We're going to buy a sweater, come home and throw out the other one, or like donate it or do something. So yeah, what was Brian saying? Here and her wife in the shoes.
That's my wife and all her dang.
Yep.
Yeah, I find it interesting. It's more, I feel like it's more of like a TikTok trend, is like the under consumption trend, where people are talking about how they made mistakes in the past and they spent all this money on shoes or bags or clothes, and then they're like, why do I have all this stuff? It's like consuming my entire life. And then they start to scale back and get rid of things and focus on the essentials. I think this is a great book if you are trying to get more into that mindset, because I mean, he had literally what he could carry in that stroller, and that was it. And he managed to do that for 7 years. Yeah. So you don't need as much stuff as you think.
No. And toward the end of his journey, we'll talk about later, but he was able to he had a drone, he was doing YouTube videos. So he even had like a laptop in there. So he had some stuff that you really didn't need, but he still figured out how to put a drone in there. So stuff like that. But one thing real quick, what we learned recently was with the clothes. I think the stat is accurate. Currently in this world, we have enough clothes for the next 6 generations, because we've been watching a lot of clothing documentaries and information. So that's insane how for 6 generations we can clothe everybody, but yet people still buy clothes
and they're still
every
making
weekend.
Tons of cheaply made clothes.
Yeah.
Hello, Shein, H&M.
Yep, exactly.
Forever 21.
So that's a huge takeaway is, he was able to just fit everything in this one stroller thing that he created. He had made for him, which was really cool, because I believe, what was it? It was here in
there was somebody
who created it
in the area, heard his story and made him this custom cart.
And then
really nice.
Was he the one that sponsored too, right? He sponsored the walk. So he basically gave him enough money to kind of keep going. So he was able to, he put his logo on the side of the stroller. So that's how he was able to actually get money while he was doing it. And then we'll talk about some other sources of income he made later. But I think for that topic, was that about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So the next one is, you don't have time to sit around and think about things. You got to just do things in order to,
in motion. So in the book, he talks about the reason why he did this walk is because he had a really good friend that he grew up with who died at 17, and that really changed his life. Because he was confronted with death. It was the first time he was confronted with death, and it's so heartbreaking at such a young age to see somebody pass. So that put a lot of things into perspective for him, and he realized, I don't have time. It's not guaranteed. There's a lot of things that I want to do, but I don't necessarily know if I'm going to be able to do them all if I wait. So I think as business owners, or somebody, if you're looking to start a business but you're scared and you're like, oh, I'll wait to do that later down the road, whatever it is, it could be traveling, it could be building a house, whatever, do it now. Figure out a way to do it. If it's really important to you, you have to figure out a way to do it, because time is not guaranteed. You don't know what could happen tomorrow. We might not be around for that long, so you have to live your life with that in mind. Otherwise, you could be missing out on a lot of things.
I like how this one note we have, what time isn't guaranteed. That's another thing too. we have this weird mindset, especially in this country, where it's like work for 40 years, and then if your health is good enough and you have enough money saved, you might be able to travel and do cool things for like 10 or 11 years to 15 years, whatever it may be. That's not a good way to like live your life. You got to like live your life now while you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Then you kind of chill. We're kind of doing the opposite, where it's like do the heavy traveling and stuff now. So I feel like if you think about this book and what he did, most people aren't going to take on a journey like this in their 60s, 70s, whatever it may be, because you just physically can't do it. So he was like, you got to do this now. I think that's such a huge important thing. Yeah.
And it can even be something small, like, like I want to get together with a friend that I haven't seen in 6 months. How many times have we had conversations with friends like, oh, we should get together, and then it never happens. I think even stuff like that is an important lesson. Like, just make the plans now. Put it on paper. Make sure that you're doing what you say you want to do. Otherwise, it's tomorrow. Unfortunately, you could be dead.
Like another thing that it's a different way or different perspective that you can look at time is of course, we don't know when we're going to die, right? So let's say I'm 43. Let's say I want to make it to, I don't know, 83. That gives me 40 more years, right? Instead of looking at it as 40 more years, look at it as like I have 40 more Christmases. I have 40 more summers, birthdays, whatever it may be. When you look at it like that, it makes it a lot smaller. And so you can actually get your shit together. Like, for example, we just went to Germany for their Christmas markets. If you think about it,
something that I wanted to do for several years.
A lot of people are like, oh, I'll plan that trip one day, in a couple years. I have 40 Christmases left. When you look at things like that, it changes your perspective, in my opinion. It really kind of,
it does.
Yeah, I like that. As somebody said that recently, and I was like, what? I'm going to start looking at time a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah. And it did take him a long time to figure out how he was going to accomplish this. But he had the idea when he was young, like in high school, and he figured it out. He was like, okay, I'm going to start saving up money. This is how much money I need to save. So I'm going to get jobs, work, save the money. He figured it all out. So it's not to say that like you're going to do it tomorrow, but have a plan in place to do it. And then there are so many obstacles along the way. Reading the story, he got really sick when he was in, Peru? And it could have stopped the whole walk, but he got healthy and he kept going. COVID happened. That could have stopped a lot of things, but he figured it out. So, there's going to be roadblocks in the way, and time, you don't know what's going to happen, but if you really want to do something, you'll find a way. And that, I thought that was really inspiring.
Exactly. Cool. So the next one is, we make too many excuses. So so what we have here in the notes. Yeah. So this is one of the biggest takeaways from me in this book would be more this topic is like, we make so many excuses for why we can't do things. Yeah. So I'll just give a list of some things that he was able to accomplish while he was literally walking around the world with his dog. He was able to learn different languages. He started like a Patreon, so he found another way to get income coming in. He was running, he was doing YouTube toward the end of his journey. Instagram. He was also, he's a really good writer. So he was writing some stuff as he was journaling
like every day to make sure that he recorded what he was doing.
And photography. He's a really good photographer. He was doing all of this while walking around the world.
Camping,
So
you can get up and work out for an hour.
I know. Like, after you read this book, you feel so lazy. Like, even what we did with our digital nomad driving around the country, like, I felt that was like the extreme. But now you could go, this is probably the most extreme you can ever do, is literally just walk around the world, do all of these things, and still have time. Like, it's insane. Like, I think he was doing 18 miles a day, 18 to 20 miles a day, right?
He would walk, like, I think minimum like 18 miles a day.
Yeah.
That's a lot of walking.
Because like we try to do like 10,000 steps. So we do, what is it, 3 miles a day or something like that.
Mhm.
Like we try to walk that, and that's a lot. Like, that takes a while to do that. Oh my
So,
God.
if this person was able to do all of these things, it kind of puts it into perspective. We're very comfortable. We have a lot of free time, and we make a lot of excuses for why we can't do things. For me, that has been, working out. Oh, I'm too tired. Oh, I'm too busy. I'm not. I
Yeah,
can get up and work out. It's just I'm making excuses. So
exactly.
that was a big takeaway for me was, well, if Tom can walk around the world, I can walk on the treadmill for an hour.
Was it Brian saying that hurts? Yes. I know.
Yeah, it hurts me just hearing that.
The steps.
Well, and think about it. He's walking in heat, bad weather,
Blizzards.
blizzard,
Yeah.
like there's all sorts of weather elements on top of just the walking, which is pretty grueling. You're walking up huge mountains, and it was a lot, and he managed to do it. So I give him a lot of credit for that.
I know, and also like so, the beginning of his journey, he started here in the Philly area, and then when he ended up in the Texas area, he got a dog, Savannah. So she's actually, that was like, she loved following Savannah. We love following her story, everything about that. But yeah, he got her in Texas, and then of course now you have to think, I have to take care of a dog. I have to make sure she doesn't run away. She has vet issue. Like she got a, later in the book, she actually got really sick. Was hers in South America, right? Is that where she got sick?
I think so, yeah.
So she got sick, had to take care of her.
So they both got sick in South America.
Yeah.
But, another hurdle in the story is having a pet, because every time you cross a border, you have to make sure that you have the right paperwork for yourself and your pet. So vaccination records and all that kind of stuff, because they're not going to let you just walk through a country without that. So that was another thing that he had to overcome. So he was overcoming all of these different obstacles.
And what was cool is we went to the book signing when he had it a few months ago. That's where we got the book, right here in the Haddonfield area. Somebody asked, was it really hard to like go over the borders? He's like, no. He's like, actually, when you have a U.S. passport, you could just literally just walk over, and most of the time they don't care. Like I think the biggest hurdle he had was down in Mexico, right? That was like he had some issues there because they make it weird. You got to like get a certain form before you go down into a certain area. They don't make it very clear.
And I think, gosh, I'm not remembering. Like I think it might have. I think it was Georgia he was in, not the state, the country. And he had to have like a basically like a guide follow him through. So like there were certain things like that, but overall, like he said, most people were pretty cool.
He only had one issue where he was in an area where there was a whole bunch of terrorist activity, and they were like, you Turkey. Should not be out here. The police actually had to like kind of escort him in certain areas. So that's another thing too. I mean, think about this. Like you're in a different country, you don't speak their language. Now you have to worry about terrorists too. It's insane that he was able to go this long really and didn't really have any issues, because that doesn't happen. Like people, they're like, yeah, that's an American from New Jersey walking through the desert in the middle of like Peru or nowhere, it's like, that's not common at all. So people left him alone.
Well, and he also said people were so nice, like wherever he went. So, I mean, that like, we didn't put that down, but I think that's another takeaway is that most people, if you're nice to them, they're going to be nice to you. And he has so many really wonderful stories about how people helped him along the way. And, like they helped him when his dog Savannah got sick, and they, packed her up into a truck and drove her to the vet. And like, they didn't even know him, obviously. So it's really like gives you faith in humanity.
Well, what's crazy is from all the stories he said, it wasn't until you get actually back here into America where you could run into issues, because we're very like territorial with our land, and
Mhm.
like they don't want a random person just sleeping on their land like when in a tent. So he had
And
like,
are also very paranoid about
yeah,
things where
he had the police called on him
yeah.
because he was walking on the street with a stroller and a dog. Like people felt threatened in like what, Kansas or some, you know, weird state where it's like, hey, oh my God, there's somebody walking down the
They
street.
don't see a lot of activity,
I thought that
so
was very
they're
interesting
bored.
how like you could be in the middle of I don't, did he go through like Middle Eastern countries where it was
Yeah.
he didn't have any issues there at all. But then you come here and you have an issue in Kansas in the United States. Like that, that makes me laugh
Well,
so
I think
much.
it puts things into perspective that, you know, we're told that the world is such a scary place and dangerous, but here's dangerous too. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
just as dangerous, if not more dangerous. So, you know, don't believe everything that you
Yeah.
hear.
So yeah, the next one was like trust your gut. And so when it comes to business, we take this like,
Mm,
would you say almost 100% of the time when we go with our gut, it just feels right. We haven't been wrong yet, I don't think. So sometimes when you meet certain people or you get in certain situations, your gut is just like, this doesn't feel right. And
mhm,
so a really good story was pretty early on in his journey when he got down to Georgia here in the United States. He ran into a guy who turned out to be a really shady drug dealer. He did some bad things, but this guy wanted him to stay in his house. And the one thing I took away from that story was uh, the guy kept saying things like, "Oh no, I'm good people. I'm good. You don't have to worry about me." But it turned out that he was like this horrible guy. And Tom, one during the walk in his book, he was saying that his gut was just like something's off. Like I need. He didn't trust his gut in the beginning,
mhm.
so it was a really good story to be like, you got to trust your gut because he found this guy real shady, and he could have got himself into a really bad
Yeah, he
situation.
almost did. And one thing that I liked was he was talking to a family member, and she said, Tom, nobody that is a good person
It says,
has to tell you all the time that they're a good person. And I thought that was a great takeaway because that's true. Like if you're a good person, you don't have to constantly remind people how good you are. You just are.
mhm.
So that's one thing that I thought was such a great takeaway because there have been so many times where I had a gut feeling and questioned it, and turned out my gut was right.
Mhm.
So,
Almost every time I would say,
yeah.
yeah, because even and then we both so if one of us has like a gut feeling, we just kind of roll with it because we're like, all right, you see something I don't see. So
Mhm.
that's a good thing about having like a dynamic like we have is like one of
Mhm.
us might get it and one of us might not. You just got to go with the person who's got it. We've learned that that's fine
Yeah.
doing it like that. Yeah, that was a really unique story, and I just think it's funny how, like I said, it was a lot of the stories were here in the United States.
Yeah, the it seemed like the bad thing, except for when he was in Turkey and he was the police came and was like, "Are you a terrorist?"
Yeah.
All the bad stories happened here.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember what country is he in because in the book he talks about a lot of different places
Mhm.
he went, but he was in a place and he was just sharing a meal with a guy who was with him, like teaching him how to speak Spanish. And they're just next to someone's house, just sitting there having lunch.
Mhm.
He's like, everyone's just so chill. But he compares like, yeah, you try to do that in the United States, like you're getting the police called on you, someone's
Yeah.
entering your property, like yeah, that put it into perspective. I keep saying
Mhm.
that, but I was like, the United States thing was really unique. So
Yeah.
yeah, trust your gut. Was there anything else with his gut that he kind of covered in the story?
I feel like we covered it pretty well. You
Yeah.
know, just it's a lesson that I think a lot of people need to learn.
Yep. All right, cool. And yeah, the little last topic is yeah, ignore people that tell you you can't. So a lot of people were like, you can't do this. Like
This is
you can't do
crazy.
that. You just can't walk around the world and
Like
just think
what are
everything's
you thinking? You
yeah.
know, like so many people told him he was nuts for wanting to attempt to do this, and he still did it.
Yeah.
So I think the lesson for me was there's always going to be people that tell you that you can't do something, whether it's walk around the world or start a business.
That's a big one. A lot of people don't think that you should or can start a business. Like
Mhm.
you could just start a business, and if you fail, who cares? Like, you're going to learn from that experience from running a business, and it fails. You learn and you hopefully take away. Yeah. Yeah. I like that one. Yeah. That's a big one. Even when we were traveling, even when we did the digital nomad thing, I don't think people realize like how extreme we took it. And some people are like, you just can't do that. Like, so we sold our house in the Philadelphia area, and we were literally living on the road, completely homeless. Like, we did not have a home. We didn't have an apartment.
We just hopped around.
We
from place
hopped
to place.
around for almost a year. All whatever stuff we had was in a storage unit here in Philly, and that's it. And people told us that, like, you just
We were
can't,
crazy.
you can't do that. You can't run a business. But it was one of our better years because we were able to still work full time and
see the
country and do all the fun stuff. And the good thing is, honestly, if we didn't do it then, we wouldn't have been able to do it now as much financially, because it was a lot cheaper in 2019 to hop around this country and have a good time. Now,
which it kind of goes back to, you don't have the time that you think you have.
Yeah.
You know, we could have said, oh, we'll do that in 5 years. Well, look what happened. You know, the world was a very different place 5 years ago, I feel like.
Yeah.
So you don't have this time like you think you have.
Yeah. So if you see an opportunity, you got to just kind of jump on it now. Yeah.
But I mean, so many people told us that, oh, we can't travel around the world and run a business, or we can't even start a business. Like, are you crazy? Like, what are you going to do for insurance? And what if you don't get clients? And, you know, all these different things. And it's like, well, what if you do?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, I'd much rather, I always say, work 80 hours for myself than 40 hours for someone else. And I just got so tired of working for other people and making those people rich. I wanted to try to do it on my own. So
yeah, let me see if it will come across if I go like this. So in the middle of the book, he's got some cool photos. So as you can see, like,
beautiful.
He's a really good photographer. And so for a little while, we were supporting his Patreon, because he had a Patreon where you can get access to all of the images. But I wanted to just literally put money in his pocket to help him and, you know, feed Savannah, because that Savannah's the little pup here. Yeah. Let me see.
Yeah, unfortunately, Savannah passed away last year.
Yeah, I know. That one felt personal. Like, there she was right there. And see, that comes in.
She's a sweetie.
Yeah. And you see those balloons on the bottom there? That was actually his homecoming when he finished his last steps. And we were actually right behind those balloons. We're not in that picture, but we were there.
Get the book, and you can see all of the photos and read the story. It's really worth it.
Yeah, we highly recommend it. And it's in the description for sure. Yep.
For sure, you do not get out and travel, do it, and you will not regret it. You won't. That is one thing that I tell people all the time. You will never regret traveling.
No.
I never once was like, oh, I wish I didn't take that trip.
Nope. If anything, traveling for me has changed my perspective on life. It's changed my perspective on how things run in this country. It changes literally everything, and the way I talk to people and you know, from different cultures, and I understand it a lot more. The more I travel, they always say this, every time you travel somewhere, a little piece of you like changes. And it's true. Like, it really is. Like, you got to actually like travel, and you can feel it. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. You come back and you let everything that happened. Like, when we went to Tokyo, is a big one for me. When I came back, you start to compare how a big city can function, and actually
you compare
the
it
culture.
To here,
yeah, you just kind of compare it to where you live. It changes everything. Even like we went to Germany, it changed my perspective how they're open about, like, I don't know, drinking out in public.
Like
it's
9 a.m. They're like, here, have a beer. And you're like, it's 9 a.m.
Yeah. And then I come here and I'm like, you can't drink on the sidewalk past the restaurant. Like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah, that's one thing I think, when you spend money on experiences, I think that's much better than spending money on stuff, because you have those memories, you know. So that's what we like to spend money on, is traveling. And I think it really enriches your life. So
I know one thing.
Get out and do it if it's something that you want to do.
I know one thing that he's mentioned, I think he mentioned at the book signing, was when you do something this extreme, like, you're one of the only, was it the 10th person, I believe it is,
Yeah.
you have a really hard time relating to anybody. And it's very true, because even in our journey where we travel full time, even just running the business, we don't relate with most people. Like, I've noticed that, like, it's hard for us to relate to people who are grinding it out at the corporate gig, like
Yeah.
9 to 5. We're finding it not, I wouldn't say hard to have relationships, but it's like, I don't know how you feel
It's hard
compared to how we
to
feel.
relate to people sometimes because they don't know what it's like to have to find clients or have to pay all this money for health insurance and like worry about taxes and things like that. So it can be kind of lonely. So kind of going back to the topic is like a lot of people, they tell you, yeah, you can't do that. That's so hard. Why would you do that? You're crazy. Just ignore those people. Those people a lot of times are scared or jealous of you because they actually want to do something like that, but they're too afraid to pull the trigger and do it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to do something, do it. And there's going to be people that tell you you can't do it. Find the people that tell you you can.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that he mentioned in the book was this person that made him this custom cart in the beginning of his walk. That was the first person that outside of his family that he really told about, like his story and what he wanted to do. And he was like, this is awesome. Like, I'm in, I want to help you. Imagine what could have happened if that guy was like, you're insane.
Yeah.
Like, so
Well, I remember,
I think that was a really like pivotal point in his story, was that he had somebody say, hey, I think what you're doing is so cool. I want to help, versus having somebody say, what is wrong with you?
Well, from
You're
what I
nuts.
remember, the first like prototype that Tom created for the cart just wasn't going to work. And so this guy created a whole new cart for him. I feel like the cart is actually a big part of the story, because if that cart didn't get custom built, he probably wouldn't have gone on the journey, because it's like, what are you going to do? You can't use like a regular baby stroller, because it had to have thicker tires. It needed more room. So I feel like the cart was definitely a big push to actually get started, because I think once the cart was made, now he's like, oh crap, I got to do this now.
Right.
So
like
it was
somebody was willing to build this for me for free, and he's supporting me. Like, now I got to do it. So I guess my point is, ignore the people that are going to tell you you can't, and look for the people that are going to tell you, hey, you can do this, and I'm all in. I support you. Those are your people. There's always going to be people that tell you you can't, no matter what it is. So just remember that.
Yeah. So in conclusion, like we sound like AI. Yeah, we took a lot from this book. It was the first book I read in a very long time. I'm actually in the middle of reading another book, and so we are looking forward to doing more of these. So yeah, if you have any recommendations, you can just leave it in the comments, and we can add it to our list, because I have a huge list of books. I am a slow reader because I'm not in it like she is. I'm trying this year. I'm going to be reading every day. I'm going to try every day to read. It's helping me a lot. And it actually is like, I don't know, it's relaxing me. Like, it kind of relaxes me. I'm only doing like a chapter or two a day. So I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm going to read a book every week or a book every couple of days. I don't have that in me. Like, maybe I'll get there.
Right now,
no.
I'm very proud of you. This is something I've been telling him for a long time. I'm like, you should read more. And he's
this
like,
was the book.
I'm not good at reading. I don't like to do it. I'm like, you just haven't found the right book.
Well, yeah, when he mentioned he was going to write a book, because like I said, we've been following him for years. When he mentioned he's going to write a book, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sit down and read it. And I did it. I was like, I wasn't lazy. I was like, I got to do it.
What book is it?
Oh, A Walk in the Woods.
A Walk in the Woods.
Oh, cool.
I haven't read that one.
Cool. We'll put that down. Yeah.
I will. What is it? By Bill Bryson. I will look into it, because I love to read. I read a few books a month. Anything, fiction, nonfiction, stuff like this. I'm just a reader. And Mark is not really a reader, but I think he's becoming a reader.
I'm not into fiction. Like I can't do fiction. I've tried. Like
I
I've
feel like
tried.
a lot of guys aren't into fiction.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's more of a woman thing.
Oh, okay,
And
cool. There's
there's
a
a movie
movie.
that you need to watch after you read the book. It's hilarious. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do like reading books and then watching the movies afterwards, or watching the shows that come out, because a lot of times the shows are so bad. The book's always better in my opinion. Um I think I read the book You. I don't know if you've heard of that show on Netflix, but it is wildly different than the books were. So
Oh yeah,
that's
we
one
tried to watch the
example.
show, and she's like, "What the hell are they doing? There's not even close to the
Like, this
book."
isn't close. I mean, I watched it, but I was like, this is not close to what was in the book.
Oh, cool. And so you're saying, I'll love it as well. All right, yeah, we'll put that down. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's that will be on our. We're getting a list of all these different books. So
Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, this was our first little book review. So yeah, like I said, the book is in the description below. It's our little Amazon affiliate link. We get a little tiny commission if you buy it through there. Sign up for
or
a newsletter.
I mean, if you don't buy it through Amazon, you can get it at probably your local bookstore, Barnes and Noble too. Just I don't care if we get the commission. Just read it. It's such a great story.
Yeah, he also has some children's books too. He made one with Savannah, so his dog Savannah made a kid's book. I think his mom did the illustrations. I believe.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Yeah,
So
we don't have kids, so we didn't get that
yeah,
one. But if you have kids, that might be a fun book for them too. So
but
just
yeah,
support him, because he seems like a really nice guy, and the story is great. He's a great writer, great photographer.
and what's cool is like if you go to his website, I have that in the description below. You could purchase his artwork too. So a lot of the pictures he was taking.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a smart guy. He does like speaking. That's like where he's kind of maybe focusing a lot of his
motivational
time.
speaking.
Yeah. So that's what's cool. That's what's crazy about our country. We have a lot of opportunities because you could do this. You write the book, then you have speaking gigs. Maybe some other businesses will spin off of this. So that's what I love about this story. It's very like inspirational because it goes to show you could do one thing and it could turn into a lot of other things,
Yeah.
you know. Cool. All right. Well, have a good weekend, everyone.
Have a good weekend. Buy the book if you're looking for a good read.